So you should be seeing the agenda here now. Will you please confirm?
Yes.
Yep, we can see that.
Great. Okay, thank you everyone. Good evening here. Hi, Dave. So just introductions here. So my name is Dilip. I am one of the Atlassian co-leaders here for the past 3 years. And so we have kind of exciting 2 set of speakers here. We're very excited and kind of honored to have Pratima directly from Atlassian speaking about supercharging Confluence. And we'll have Andrew Bauman from Calm Technologies to talk about moving Atlassian platform to the cloud, which I'm sure is the hottest topic these days here. So I'm sure there'll be lots of questions for both the speakers. So just to get things started here, just want to do some introductions for the co-leaders, because I know, unfortunately, with the virtuals, we can't really kind of meet in person. I know I see a few new folks here as well. So what I do want to do is just introduce ourselves, just kind of a little background. And then if there's anyone new who's kind of first time attending this particular New York ACE event, please let us know and do an introduction to the whole group as well. So let me start with myself first. As I said, Dilip, co-leader for the past 3 years. I'm a product manager in FinTech. And so such that I prefer Confluence over Jira. And then I can talk to you about the good old days where I used to love the wiki markup in Confluence. That's me. All right, hand over to Kapil.
Yeah. Hey guys, this is Kapil. So I'm with ACE since a long time. In my day job, I'm director of technology with a media company, GroupM. So I have my hands on all Jira, Confluence, and mostly now cloud. We started from server, migrated everything to cloud. So cloud is new go for us, and that's why I'm always connected with everything. So yeah, welcome all to our second virtual event for the New York City. So Madhu?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. How is New York doing? I'm one of the co-leaders. I have been a leader for I don't even remember the count, probably 4 or 5 years now for the New York. And I have been using Atlassian products for 14 years now. So probably you can call me an old school in terms of using Atlassian products. I work for a small hedge fund called Citadel, and I manage, I'm an admin, but I call myself as the janitor for Jira and Confluence here. So that's what it is. And I enjoy doing what I do in terms of the job as well as part of being the community. So yeah, over to you, Dilip.
Great. Erica, do you want to do an introduction since you're the community leader here based in New York?
Well, of course. Thanks y'all for having me. This is my first virtual New York event. I've had the pleasure of attending a lot of the in-person ones, which are always super stellar and super impressive. But like I said in the chat, I'm a community manager at Atlassian. So I work on the community team very closely with Selena and Darlene and Cassie and all of those crazy cats. So I'm glad to be here.
Great. Thanks, Erica. So I'm going to hand it over I'm going to hand it to any new folks who want to say hello. Please just unmute and speak up.
Hi, I am Yelumalai. Yeah, I'm new for this this virtual meeting. First time I joined this one. Actually, I used to go that meetups in the California, San Diego, the San Diego user group. So recently, 5 to 6 months before I moved to Massachusetts. So I'm a release engineer as well as a DevOps and also infrastructure. So I'm using that Atlassian products past 4 years, Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket. So all the Atlassian's group of products I'm using. So here aspect also I'm using that all the products. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hey everyone, my name is Alex. I actually was fortunate enough to attend an Atlassian event in person, but it was my only one. So this is my first time joining virtually. Really excited about being able to continue learning and collaborating with this group. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I'm actually based in Chicago now. I moved, I had to escape the madness in New York, but still happy to join and participate and be a part of this group. So thanks.
Great. Welcome, Alex.
Well, and let's not forget, we have one international attendee as well. So we can also just have a quick word from Abdul Karim.
Oh yes, hi. Yeah, I'm actually following you guys from Germany, where it's 11 p.m. and I'm a former user group leader. I founded the Cologne one, or Köln, if you know that, where the famous beer is. And so I joined the partner, Atlassian partner scene last year. So I was not longer eligible to run a user group. I'm so happy that I found nice guys and who handed over. And now I'm a product manager for all Atlassian stuff, apps and enterprise managed software that helps you run Jira and Confluence out of the box for all those who are very interested in the on-premise versions, like all Germans are super fancy for on-premise software. So there we have something that we build. So now, oh yeah, sorry, it's actually CatWorks. So everybody, that's how dedicated I'm to my company. And love following you guys. I'm very interested.
Great, thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, great then. So let's get going here. So I just want to do a few announcements before I hand it over to Prathama to speak here. So just quickly here as I kind of loop through the slides. Just code of conduct, as you mentioned, please mute all your lines unless you have to ask a question. Again, if you have a question, use the kind of the raise hand icon, and the moderator, myself, will call out the name, or just post a question on the chat there. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors and all the raffles. As you know, for our kind of physical on-premise events, we always want to thank Atlassian and kind of all the other partner sponsors who help us with the food and drinks. Unfortunately, since we're doing virtual, we don't have that, but they're still very nice enough to give a lot of gift cards. So these are all the gift cards that we'll raffle at the end. So think of it as a kind of a thank you from the partners to, I guess, all of you members who are still interested in continuous learning. As I said, do you want to do another Zoom call at the end of the day, right? So we'll have a raffle at the end. So again, this is something from AdTech is going to be a $50 Visa card. Adaptivist is going to kind of be a grand prize here with the $100 Amazon gift card. Right? So start thinking what you want to order. Blended Perspectives. So they are giving out 3 $50 Amazon gift cards for anyone who goes in that link that's there to basically log in and select some of their independent reports they have on marketplace apps. So please copy that link. And I think Madhu or Kapil will put that on the chat as well. So you can go in and just basically fill out the form there and you'll be put into a raffle there, right? So we don't have too many users here. So again, 3 is a large number there. I'm sure you'll get a chance to get that, right? And then column, of course, Uber Eats, always, especially for us New Yorkers here, right? We do have an online community group. So I think a lot of the folks here are members, but if you're not, you can obviously just use the QR code to join in. And then Atlassian also has this jobs forum for folks who are interested in career opportunities. Please look at the link below as well on the Atlassian community website. Okay, and just a quick note, some upcoming events. As you know, once Atlassian went remote for the 2020 summit, they've continued that trend with different webinars that they've hosted over the last few weeks. So it's again a link to the webinars. And again, they're all kind of all on YouTube and presented afterwards, but here are some new ones that are coming up. And then lastly, just a quick note, I'll mention this at the end, we have our next New York ACE event already planned. That is in 1 month from now, on June 25th. And we have John Kearns from Adaptivist, and he's actually one of the original signatories of the Agile Manifesto. And from what I've heard, he's a very colorful speaker. He did give a presentation on one of the Agile webinars, and I was shocked because like cursing in the webinar that Atlassian published on there. So I'm sure he'll be a very colorful speaker. So please join us for next month. Okay. And again, if you have any topics or anything that you want to talk about, or if you have any questions, that's the reason we did do the introductions for the leaders as well. Please make sure that you reach out to us, or if you have any questions about anything. Okay. All right. So with that, let us start with the presentations. So first, I'm going to introduce Prathama. So Prathama is the general manager, head of Confluence at Atlassian. So prior to that, she has over 15 years experience in project management across different companies, including Salesforce. At Salesforce, she did the delivery of the Salesforce Einstein, which is, I think, the artificial intelligence machine learning platform or product for salespeople. And she calls herself, again, quote, a geek at heart, as well as she, quote, when I started using Confluence, it changed my world. So I think this is good introductions and a perfect intro segue here for Prathama to speak about Confluence. Over to you, Prathama.
Thank you, Dilip. I will start sharing my screen. Make sure you guys can see it. give me a thumbs up. You guys can
Yep.
see this? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Dilip, you did my introduction. I don't need to introduce myself. I run the Confluence Cloud team. I'll just clarify that. Though I can answer some server and data center questions, they might not be as detailed as the cloud part. But where I do understand, I asked Dilip before I came in saying, how many people are on cloud versus server and data centers? So I know a lot of you guys still use the behind the firewall offerings, and we absolutely support them as well. But today's focus, at least for this presentation, is on the cloud side. With that, I have been with Atlassian 2.5 years doing product management for over 15 years. I stopped counting. It's I'm a mom of 2, and working from home is very interesting. So if you see my 5-year-old jump in, don't be afraid. That happens sometimes, that I get some fun snacks from my kids, which is kind of cute. So just pre-warning there too. So with that, let's get started. I have a trivia. It's always fun to start with a little trivia and get you guys engaged. You can type out your best guess. Okay, so you can go to the chat window, type out your best guess. This is not Confluence Cloud related. This is Confluence in general related. So that's just ready. Everybody, hands on the keyboard. Okay. What year was Confluence launched? Type it out. 2003, 6, 8, 13. Not Confluence Cloud, Confluence. 2003 to a lot, very 8, 7. Okay, I'll give you the right answer. Confluence was launched in 2003. Confluence 1.0 was born and released to the world. Mike Cannon-Brooks, who's the co-founder and was one of the first avid coder of Confluence, and we still have 22,000 lines of code in Confluence from our founder. We just literally counted it because we were teasing him. Cloud was released in 2014, if anybody wanted that answer for that too. Okay, how many products does Atlassian have? Type it out. 14. Mark, 15. Did we just answer this at the summit this week? A lot. 15. Okay, getting close. 10, 20. Everybody in the good park. 50. Oh boy. We have 15. Atlassian has 15 products. And I'm not counting Confluence Cloud and Server and Data Center, 3 different. Confluence is a single product. You could triple that if you were counting that way. So Jira, Confluence, Trello, Crucible, Fisheye, Jira Service Desk, Jira Software, Agile Craft, so there's lots of them. So there are 15 of them. You can go to our website. If you want, I can Jira Align, Ops Genie, Bitbucket, SourceTree, Fisheye, Crucible, Access, and Crowd, if I got them right. And this is my last one, I think. How many users does Confluence Cloud have? Cloud, this is a cloud. We're looking at monthly active users, let's say that. How many monthly active users does Confluence? 1 million. This was 1 billion. That would be nice. Then billion, 500K, 1.5, 325, 100 million, 2 million, getting close. 10,000, 2.1 million. Wow, I was fairly close. We do have a little over 2.1 million users, monthly active users. In the cloud, yes, 2.1. How do we 2.11? It looks like Mark is on a roll right now, which is pretty impressive, and they're growing really fast on the cloud side. So we're very happy with everybody using our cloud offering and want to make it better. That was the last trivia question. This is 2 other questions. These are not trivia questions, but you guys can totally answer these. What's your favorite feature in Confluence? Cloud server doesn't matter. Type it out. Mark was 2.11 million. Yes, Mike, it's actually 2.12 if you want to be precise number as of today. It's shortcuts.
There's a whole lot of money there.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna. Okay. I just wanted to see who was typing. I couldn't see people's names, so I reshared my screen. I hope you can still see it. Links to Jira, yes. Former wiki markup. Oh my God, there are lots of fans like Dilip here. Macros and collaborative. Okay. Keep it coming. The collaboration, Howard said. Roadmaps and team calendars are quite nice. Okay, now get inline comments. Andrew said search. Oh, these are the things we most desire improvement. So improvements coming faster. What are your most desired improvements in Confluence Cloud? Andrew was search for improvement or search something you like? Liked. Okay, Andrew liked. Image presentation, improvement search, navigation, space management, issue collector. Oh boy, yeah. Image presentation, editing tables. Replication from behind the firewall to cloud. A Jira style permission helper. Yeah, totally. Awesome. So thank you guys. We will, as this gets recorded, I'm going to take it from Dilip and definitely take it back to the team. I want to, incorporation of Google Docs, Perm Helper, lots of good stuff here. I think you'll be happy with some of the stuff I'm going to show you on the cloud side if you already didn't know that. So for the agenda, getting to the business, I also didn't do an introduction. Maybe I'm sorry about that, Brittany. Brittany is on a product marketing team who's joining us with us, and very excited to be here too. Brittany, do you want to introduce yourself really quickly before I get started?
Yeah, just a quick introduction. I'm fairly new to Atlassian, been here a couple months, but I'm a new product marketer on the Confluence Cloud team, really focused on helping communicate out what feature updates we are doing routinely in Confluence Cloud.
Thank you, Brittany. And Brittany can help answer some of the questions on the chat if need be. So this is how we'll do it. We will do problem solutions, mobile updates, premium features, and Q&A as we go through this. And Dilip already has some hard questions for me that he was warning me about upfront. So you can think of questions as we go through this presentation. With that, let's get started. I think the way we think about what are some of the problems our customers tell us, Confluence is too complex. It's very hard to get started. The time to value is too high. It's not tailored, like I'm a developer or I'm an IT manager or I am a marketing person or an HR person. It doesn't tell me what should I do. Sometimes we don't play nice with other products, like I think you guys mentioned around Office 365, Google Docs. How do we have better integrations and other things? Because you want to stay across multiple tools. And then on the cloud side, we do get a lot of feedback around it doesn't scale and how do we make sure it's enterprise ready. So we're doing a ton across that around being able to simplify the product, have better onboarding. We'll show you some of that templates. Are new in Confluence Cloud. We've added 75, we have 75 plus templates in the cloud now, which I'll show you guys in a bit. Integrations, very heavy Jira and Jira integrations, not only Jira integration, but Google Drive and Office integration. And then we've been heavily working on making cloud enterprise ready, all not only from scale, but compliance, security, and a lot of other requirements that you might have to be able to move to cloud. So let's actually, pictures are better than words. So have a little tiny videos as we go through this to show, give you snippets into some of this, how's this coming through from in the product. So let's play the first one. You can see this is a new onboarding flow. When you start working, you can even invite your teammates. I know a lot of people don't go through onboarding a lot, but for people who invite other users to an existing instance, you can pick what kind of spaces you want to follow. And if you haven't seen on the Cloud, we have a brand new homepage that has your spaces, your pages, and also search. We've made quite a few improvements. On the search side, you can see there's advanced search, the UI looks different, and we've done not only relevancy changes, but also some of the UI changes that you can see here on here, and can directly get to the page you were looking for. So, so this is a quick one. Also on the search side, just something, the video went faster than I can speak. You can see that some of the things on the search side is that we are making it easier to decipher results. So if you see things with multiple pages, you could see which space it belongs to and other things. Okay, I went through that really fast. Dilip, question for you. Should I take questions now, or do you want to do them at the end?
It's your call, Prathama, in terms of how you want to do it. So it's really kind of your preference.
All right, I can take the simple ones. Mark asked with the search, we put it into server. A lot of this is in server, Mark. They've been working on their search improvements as well, not the UI part, but the relevancy is something the server team is working on as well. So hope on the cloud side, I'll answer as many questions as I can. Might leave a few at the end, depends on what kind of questions am I getting. Simple ones I might answer in line, because it might be more engaging and also relevant when you ask them. Hopefully you've seen that we released a new template gallery back in April. It was a big summit news for us. And we've been making it even easier for you to access us in the product. So we're very excited about that. When you create a new page now, on the right, you would see this templates show up. There's 75 new templates, and when you hover over them, you can see a preview. What's launched already is you can see the new template drawer for, it's in gradual rollout, that you can see that. We're working on the previews and categories right now. So you can see that the categories, and then you can even preview these templates. It's a nice clean interface, because in the past you saw a modal and you didn't know what the template was. You clicked on it, it created a draft, and you kept going back and forth. These templates are not, this template gallery, these templates are available on our website. So you can copy them into your server instance, but you can't get to them from the server instance directly. Who here has used the new templates? I would love to. Oh, Brittany is asking that question. That's great. We would love feedback on the templates as well. And we absolutely, our vision for templates is that each one of you, the community members, the customers, can give their templates, provide their templates, and be known on as template providers in the future as well. Slash commands. This is one of my favorite shortcuts, because it's a master of all the shortcuts in the editor. What I'm showing you here is just power features of the new editor. All this is already launched, so this is not new, but so many times people tell me that they don't know about this. There's headings that you can do with subtitles. Somebody was asking me building beautiful pages. The new editor on cloud was primarily built to help you build beautiful pages. And with the slash command, which is right there, you can find all your macros. You can type in there, and you can see, slash basically gets you to all the commands. So if there was one command to rule them all, it would be the slash command. Is kind of my favorite. You can insert tables, emojis, and other things as well. The new editor is never going to come to server. I'm sorry about that. And then this is the Google Docs macro. Somebody was asking me about what are we doing about Google Docs? So what you're seeing here is you can actually now insert a Google link, and coming in for Office 365 as well. You can, what you see here is we have a two-way sync. So in here, you can see the marketing campaign rollout, and you can actually edit it, and it will sync up with the Google Drive. So this is pretty awesome. Since we launched this has taken a lot of good feedback from our customers. Does this replace other keyboard shortcuts, or are those already done in cloud? So a lot of keyboard shortcuts still exist in the new editor, but slash command replaces some of the big ones, like the bracket ones, as Mark is mentioning. Instead of the brackets, you use / command for everything. But you can still do the / for date, and other things still work. Thanks, Brittany, for answering that question too. I am going to, yes, and Brittany can say, yeah, there is a question mark at the bottom. You can see the gray with the purple dot right here. If you click here, and if you have the cloud version, you can see all the shortcuts here. I am showing this in the Keynote version, so I can do a live demo if need be after that. Okay, so we saw this, and let's move on to mentions. This is @mentions is, you know, pretty awesome. So you just saw this Google Drive. The good thing about this demo is you'll see everything in the same page. So you can add an action, add @mention to Jessica and Claire. And what you can see here is when you save this document, they both get notified that an action was added for them in their notifications window, and they can follow up and come back and do the same stuff. You can even see when somebody's in the Google Doc, you can see that, hey, actually Daniel in this case was using the Google Doc. So this is some of the things to think about. Okay, so this is one of our favorite analytics and inline comments feature. The good thing about analytics is when we launched it last April, not this April at Summit, we had made analytics only a premium feature. Since then, we have taken analytics and put it in standard as well. So if you even using Confluence Cloud standard version, you can go into you would see the analytics tab and see page analytics available for everybody. You can, if you want to get more space level or site level details, that's still part of the premium. Some of the things that besides analytics that you can see that there's new and improved commenting features. We have made that easier to discover, and we've also made commenting. Maybe I should play this one. This one was very quick. So I'm going to play this one. So analytics, as I said, is available for everybody. And then the new and improved. And when you click on it, you can see the new comments. We've actually made them more reliable. You won't see error messages that you can't comment on this macro anymore. But in addition, we've given it a UI facelift as well. And the comments also use the same editor, which is the main editor. So it has a lot of same functionality as the core editor that you would see. Okay. So Andrew saying maybe we should rename one of them to the other. Andrew, I'll come back to that question later on at the end of it. We've been making quite a few of mobile updates, not only on the website, but mobile is equally important for us. One of our biggest complaint from people was that, hey, I can't do any edits on mobile. And as we were building the new editor on the cloud for the web, recently we were 6 months late on mobile, but we've also introduced the new editor on mobile. You can see that a lot of the same elements and functionality that is available on web is available on mobile. Not all macros are still supported, but something we are chipping away on based on usage so that we see more and more of this functionality on mobile too. And it uses a lot of same components like what is even in Jira. So you'll see these editor capabilities show up if you were using Jira editor on mobile as well, which is a good thing. Again, this is on the mobile. We not only changed the editing experience, but viewing experience too. So you can see before emojis showed up as stars. Some of the native elements didn't show up properly, as you can see, but now we have cleaned that up. We are showing your code blocks properly. We are showing so that you can read the page quickly, and it appears closer to what it will appear on the web. So that was few of the stuff on mobile. So high level On mobile side, we have had the new editor and the new viewer to match the web. And we have done platform features around OAuth and single sign-on and other things on mobile too. Brittany just mentioned dark mode is coming on mobile in a beta format, Brittany, just to confirm before my developers, and lots of you guys are developers. So I will make sure that I represent that well. It's coming as a beta function on mobile too, as closely. Let's quickly talk about some of the admin features. This is one of the premium features, just to be aware of it. So if you create a new space, permissions are always very hard. So there was a lot of requests around being able to copy permissions from another space. So now you can do that if you have the premium offering. When you're creating a space, you can quickly say, hey, I know I have a set of permissions that I've set up on a space. I want to be able to quickly copy them. And it just does that for you in single steps. So no going back to your space and checking all those boxes for all those little checkboxes and remembering what permissions you want to give to which person. This is like a time saver. We've gotten so many good feedback on this one. On the next one, which is page archiving. So page archiving is part of our standard offering. Some of you guys might have already gotten a few using the standard version. So you can archive pages in cloud. Server already had before us page archiving, so we're catching up on server. The single page by page archiving is part of free and standard. For premium features, you can do bulk archiving. So you would be able to select multiple pages and also do bulk archiving as well. So we're very excited about archiving in general because we do know all of you guys like to keep your pages organized and clean in that fashion. This is a very interesting feature called admin key. I will let you watch the video and then I'll explain what this is. This is basically happening is you don't have access to a page, you contact your admin and admin doesn't know what's going on. So in this case, if you are an admin and you see somebody needs access to a page, you can use this special feature called admin key. You go in a separate mode, which is fully logged for compliance reasons. And you can, suppose somebody leaves or something, you can either grant access to that person who's looking for that page or delete it or even lock it further based on what you need to do based on the situation. So let's quickly see that demo really quick again. So Jessica asked as admin that I need this page. This person left the company last week. How can can you help me regain access? If you were an admin in the past, you would have to go and search for it, but now you can view the page and quickly get into the admin key format and take the appropriate action you wanted to. Okay, so next one. So permissions. Inspecting permissions is another one. I think this is a big pain point. A lot of admins ask for it. Confluence permissions are not simple. And people say, hey, how do I know which level these permissions belong to? And how can I inspect and view the right permissions? So for people who know that, Confluence is default open. That means we don't give permissions to regular people. Most of the people, if you are within a space, would get access to that page or it's open by default. We restrict the page at different levels, and given the mental model is opposite, sometimes people get lost. So this basically helps you, let me actually go back, track at what level where permissions need to be granted, and you can quickly act on it and not do hunting on permissions. You can see this, in this case, the permissions were not available because of the parent page, which was restricted. So we had thought this feature was mainly for admins, and one of our surprising things has been that a lot of end users have utilized it and have been using it to provide better permissions to their stakeholders. Last one, you saw the page level analytics, which was part of standard. This is the premium feature of it. So if you're in the premium version, you can see analytics for the site level. You can see how many total unique users are you getting. You can see what kind of spaces are most popular. You can see this at a space level, a user level, and also see what your most popular search terms are, and are people finding what they're looking for. And overall, you can, as you see here, you can do this by time period. You can see the active readers, the active contributors, a lot of advanced analytics here for you to go in-depth involvement and figuring out how is the engagement on your instance. Mark, there are a lot of analytics add-ons for server. We actually acquired a ecosystem add-on for the cloud version as well for this. So you can check out our marketplace for that. Analytics at a page level, Dilip, is available in free and standard. The analytics at a site and space level are a premium feature. So you do still get some analytics at free and standard version. So one more thought before we go on. Think of a team in your organization that's not using Confluence today, and think about what could help them use Confluence today. This can be within R&D, or this could be outside R&D, doesn't need to be. So we really want you to invite them in. We really want you to see how does this transform the way they work with you. So we use Confluence like day and night at Atlassian. We call it the heartbeat of our organization. And we do think that Confluence helps people work better together across groups as well. So think about this, given a lot of you guys are champions and admins of your org. Invite your friends in, help them see how this helps transform them work. So in addition, before I open up for more questions, and Dilip has some questions for as well. If you want to stay engaged, we have /Team Central. This is where we have advice and how-tos on Atlassian products and lots of good material. If you go to Atlassian.com Team Central to find knowledge for knowledge sharing, employee engagement, and other things. We also have webinars sub-hub where you can discover upcoming and past webinars. And then obviously we have our community where you can ask questions, articles, join the discussion. And you saw our dear community leader join us today as well, Erica, to help support that too. So some great resources for you to look at. We are also working on a dedicated place on, I call it How to Confluence. I'm sure my writers will come up with a better word, but the idea is what are some of the best practices on using Confluence that we can share with you. That's not product like deployment specific, but how can we help you use the most out of Confluence as well. With that, let's get into questions. Dilip, there were some questions I didn't answer on chat, but I know you had some questions. How about we start there and we'll come back to chat.
You know what? I was going to actually suggest that because let's get it from the users. So when we get the questions from them, so please feel free to either put it on the chat window or unmute your line and ask directly to Button. Folks, this is your chance here. This is the head of Cloud Confluence here, right? So I could get a better opportunity here. Mark, John, you were very vocal in the chat, so I'm sure you have a couple of questions.
I mean, I guess that I'd go back to your earlier comment about somebody mentioned about renaming Confluence Cloud versus Confluence Server because they've basically split into two separate products at this point. And you said you were going to have a comment, so I'm just curious about that.
Totally, Mark. Internally, we did a fork. For people who don't know, and some of you guys are veterans, we did a fork where we said we're going to have cloud and server, so we don't share the same code base anymore for the developers. But we have made different choices. Server and data center offerings have been pivoted more towards highly regulated industries. Industries who are using. You guys can hear me? Okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So server and data center are actually optimizing and prioritizing features that are very enterprise and compliance industry specific. So you'll see a lot of that come out of them. Whereas on the cloud side, we have focused quite a bit on end user functionality. As you saw, Mark, some of that come through. We do share, like both the teams share ideas and we pick up features from each other. Given the crux of it is the same, I don't think we'll rename it, just to answer your question in one sentence. But you would see them diverge based on which segment they are going to address. So more and more stuff will come for the enterprise stuff, compliance stuff from the server and data center team. I do have a slide on their latest roadmap that I kept it in the back pocket. If anybody is interested, more than happy to bring that up and quickly give you a snapshot on what's coming in 7.4, which was enterprise release, which was primarily bug fixes, and what's new in 7.5. If you guys just say yes, and we can do that too.
Definitely interested.
Definitely. Okay. Let's answer a couple of more questions, and I'll
Sure.
bring up the 7.5 release. Are there plans to offer theming in cloud without needing a plugin? Making them more visually attractive is important and helpful. +1 on calendar macro. Lloyd, we do have plans to available more theming. So right now you can do color changes and logo changes. If you didn't know that, that's available out of the box. And then we do plan to have more. In fact, we're doing research right now. So if you ping us, we are in the middle of heavy research on figuring out what should we provide around theming, and would love to pick your brain around that as well.
Prathama, there was a question earlier, you may have lost this. It's, can you link a cloud Confluence to a Jira Server instance?
Yes, you can. It just acts as a link. The good thing about when you link cloud to cloud, we show you better visuals, like you can see the status and they become smart links. But when you're linking server, Jira Server and Confluence Cloud, those links don't resolve into smart links. They show up as any link. But they don't, if you're thinking in the app switcher, can you switch between them? No, they would act as two links, but you can use macros and connect them through the Jira issue macro and other things.
It's more for like we link a lot of Jira tickets to our Confluence pages. So as long as we're still able to properly do that and show the status of the Jira server.
Yes. Yeah, that's still possible.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
It appears that the team calendar macro doesn't work in the new editor. Will there be a fix? I am not aware of that, Andrew. Can I follow up on that one? It just doesn't work for you at all?
Yeah, it just doesn't render. It just comes in as just a blank macro, and then when you publish it, it doesn't show. But it's just in the classic editor, it's there.
It's a bug, I think. I will take a note of that right now. That doesn't sound right. Brittany,
Andrew, create a Jira ticket, please.
Yes, please create a Jira ticket. But more than that, you have me here, so I will ping the team directly. Okay, you got it, Brittany. I'll send you the developer to send it to you.
Will they get some kind of bug bounty for him?
Bug bounty for him, totally. They never always fix my bugs, by the way. As much as I pay my developers, they not always listen to me.
Confluence server internally.
Say that?
You use Confluence server internally?
No, we use Confluence Cloud internally.
Even the server
Ooh,
team?
trick question, Mark. She answered it correctly.
Actually, if the whole company is on cloud, we use the cloud version as our, we use it actually as an intranet, as a full communication platform, and everything is on cloud, including the server team. So all the announcements, the blogs, everything goes on cloud. We moved from server to cloud about 2 years ago. We did a mass migration. We do have a dog fooding server instance that the server team uses to test before the release to customers. Because you definitely need a testing instance. We don't release without that. There was another question. Can you
changes made in template to example adding, we push changes made in the template to all the instances the template was used. Example, adding a column to a table. Jean, yes. On the cloud side, yes. So we roll out changes in phases. I'm guessing some of the template changes are not fully rolled out yet because we test as we go. So that template changes will go out to all instances. Is that your question, Jean? Did I get that right?
No, it's when we have a template and you're using it, yes, hi. When you've used a template like a decision template and it has these columns, and let's say you want to add, after 6 months, you want to add another column. So every time you create a new decision, it has that new column. But meanwhile, you have maybe 200 other pages that don't have that column that use the decision macro before the change.
Okay. So you had an old decision macro that didn't have that column, and you want that column available for all the old pages as well?
Right. So whenever I change the macro, the change would be propagated where on all the instances where the macro was used before.
Oh, we don't. Yeah, we don't do that. That's a great. We debate that quite a lot. Like when we change a template, should we go back and retrofit all the pages that were used building that template? We don't do that because people have told us don't touch my old pages. Like that was an intentional decision because people change the pages, use them in different ways, and some of those pages get locked. And so on purpose, we have said when you use a template, you only use it for the new pages, not retrofit it for the back pages.
Okay.
Because of that reason, but it's an interesting ask. We've been asked that in the past too. It's tricky because it's not. People want both the options. Maybe at some point we can.
Yeah, I know, but it's frustrating when you're creating templates and then after a couple of weeks of using it, you say, oh, we really need another column. And then meanwhile, all these other instances don't have that column. Then you have to go revisit them and update them manually. It's
totally hear you.
Not a showstopper, but it's very nice to have. Thank you.
Okay. Let me quickly show you the roadmap for server before we go off, so that you guys have that ability. And I want to be respectful for the time because I know Dilip has other things he wants to work on too. So give me, or you can type in here, what version of server data center are you guys on? Anybody type in so that I know. So just at a high level, we had 7.4, wrong slide, I'm gonna skip this too. We had 7.4 that got released, which is the enterprise release. This release means that it's basically comes in a form of do not contain new features, but they are instead of focused on bug fixing, hardening existing features and capabilities. Thanks, Andrew. So yeah, 6.15 and 7.05. So we've released the enterprise release, and then Confluence 7.5 we have shipped recently. So it looks like John is on 7.5. There are 2 features that are data center specific, which is around advanced auditing and support for OpenIT Connect. And then we have had 3 more features that were related to server 2. At pre-warning, I might not be able to speak in detail for all of them, but I can give you guys a high level, which is removal of collaborative limited mode, new warnings for page limit, size limit, and connections. This is a great one, by the way, because a lot of times people put a lot of links and the page becomes really big and it's very hard for it to render. So we do pre-warning, letting users know that this page will be slow and can time out, and we want to give you pre-warning on, make sure you have a limit on the size of how you're doing it. We have extra table colors as well on the server side. And then security and compliance. We've recently been very focused on the security and compliance and ran a webinar on this as well. So this has been a big push for us as we go into the server and cloud side. So you can actually, there's a link here that is in the notes that I can, maybe Brittany, you can share. which is if you go to Atlassian webinars, security and compliance actually goes in detail around how can you use now use some of the server and cloud stuff to make it easier for you to manage your security and compliance with that. And then last but not the least, we know permissions are a big deal for you guys. So regardless you're using Confluence, the information your team stores in Confluence can often be proprietary and highly confidential, especially when Confluence is used across the entire organization. So it's very critical to ensure this content is both secure and complies with the internal and external standards. With this in mind, we have improved for your ability to understand the individual page level permissions, as well as administrating permissions at an enterprise level, and with new troubleshooting, bulk editing, and auditing experiences. You can also learn about all this on our 7.5 release thing, and there's a 96, there's a small video there too. And then this is our last, my last slide really quickly on it. Thank you, Brittany, for putting some of these links. We always keep producing content. There's a 3-part video series that has been honing in some ways on, which tells you the key differentiations between server and data center. There's a 90-second introduction video to Confluence Data Center that you can watch as well. So for people who are even looking at the data center or server, there's some good resources available for data center as well. That was it. I did not, this is the much smaller version of the data center and server version here. And thank you, Brittany, for putting some of those links in there. We can go back to questions in case I missed any, or if I missed your question, I'm sorry. The chat goes sometimes so fast, it's not intentional for sure. It was not, so if I missed your question, you can please unmute and ask, please.
Hi, I use Confluence Cloud and wondered if there was a way to display GitHub content in Confluence without a plugin, or do I need a plugin to do that?
What kind of content you're looking at?
Some of the documentation on different teams I work with tend to be in Git. And so I have some use cases where some of the content is in Confluence and some of the content is in Git or other places. And so in an effort to try and consolidate it as a starting point, I wanted to try to, display some of the content from Git in Confluence.
Marta, I would have to take this offline with you.
Sure, no problem.
If you, Dilip, would you be able to share the email with the group, or I can just chat to you, Loida, from here, and we can take the conversation. I don't know top of my head, but I can do some research and find out. If anybody on the community knows, please feel help to help out here as well.
Many thanks.
Pratima, I actually had another question here. There's one ticket I'm following on the Confluence Cloud. It's 62245, and it's about aggregating decisions, similar to what they would do with like the action items or the checkboxes. If it was possible to have that feature where if someone records a decision by using that macro, that it could get populated into like some sort of report, so that they can see all the decisions across all their meeting notes or other Confluence pages, if it can field into a single source of truth and then reference those Confluence pages that it's coming from.
Oh, that's a great one, and it's something we have considered. I can't promise a date on it, but we have talked about having a decision, like a macro where you can just say, hey, all the decisions or actions or tasks, being able to easily use that. Can you post the ticket number in the chat so I can have a look?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, I think I got most of them. I quickly scanned the chat window. You guys have been awesome and very engaging. Really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do every day You are our heroes on the ground, and you do a lot for all your users and making them successful with Atlassian products. And we're extremely grateful, even if we can't meet your needs on a daily basis. Extremely grateful for everything you do, supporting Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, and all the products we have, all 15 of them. So I'm speaking on behalf of Atlassian. Can't be thankful enough for every day, and especially to the leaders and the co-leaders here who put their evenings in here to make this happen. It's on top of your daily job, so we absolutely are grateful.
Great, thank you.
One question.
Oh, we have one last question?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, like we are using that Confluence server that is like a 6.11. And also we are working that Jira migration, like 8.5.1. So we are working on that test instance, like to migrate that Jira production server. So is there any issue in the future that like compatible issue with Jira and Confluence? Because we are integrated already like Jira and Confluence, but Confluence version we are using 6.11. But Jira we are going to migrate 8.5. So as of now, when we check that in the document page, all the like a document we have planned. So as of now, we did not get any issues like even compatible issues. So right now, so in future, if I upgrade anything, like it will happen anything like even that Jira Confluence, that integration level.
We try, so our principle and goal is to not break those, just so that you know. And we try to test most of the integrations as we build those. But sometimes, given there are so many versions, bugs get introduced, like to be very honest and fair. In principle, we absolutely try not to maintain those backward compatibilities that you're talking about. So I would have to confirm with the server PM, and if I will send you my email. If you send me a note, I will confirm with server PM and make sure there's no known issues that you would hit into.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's great. Yeah. That's what like we are actively working on to migrate that higher version. That's what just I brought up that question.
Yeah, not that top of my head. And again, in principle, we try not to break any of this, but sometimes there could be some known things, and I can double confirm that. And I sent you my email address.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Great. Pratham, I know you have to leave here, and we do want to get to our next speaker here. But the one question I didn't want to ask, but I will just leave it as a thought for everyone, because I think this is a big issue, is where do we put our information? Because there's Jira, there's Confluence, there's Trello, Google Docs, Slack, okay? Because I used to fight with my project manager, the engineering manager about Jira or Confluence, but I think everyone has that. I think that's just something that I think an existential question later on to ask about that.
Dilip, is it a trick question? You're asking a Confluence PM to answer. Confluence, like, come on. Has to be Confluence.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to hear. This is being recorded, right? So.
Totally. Mike Cannon Brooks is going to come after me after this. But thank you so much, Pratham. This has been awesome. I think a lot of folks got a lot of value and a lot of tidbits here about Confluence, about how Atlassian uses the products, and about the future roadmap. So really appreciate that spending the time here. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, Sarabika.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, folks. So now we will have our second speaker, Andrew Bowman from Column. Give me a second here while I can get this prepped here. So Andrew is the DevOps lead for Column, has worked on a number of cloud migrations, and he will speak about moving your Atlassian platform product to the cloud. So I know a lot of the folks who are on server here are questioning if they will or if they're not. And a lot of people who went onto the cloud are kind of wondering about just kind of the process of anything else in the flow here. So what I'll do is I'll hand it off to Andrew.
Thank you, Dilip. Can everyone hear me well? And I'm about to share my screen. Let me know if everyone can see it.
Yep, sure.
Okay, and then the PowerPoint's up.
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So this is a pretty short slot, so it should really only take me 20 minutes. But just to kind of give you guys the overview of what I'll be addressing. Obviously, the hot topic, as Dileep mentioned, is moving to the cloud. I will be noting really anything about migration. So not just to the Atlassian cloud, but also to AWS, even the data center. There's some good tips if you're going from on-prem to data center, or server to data center, I should say. So keep that in mind too. There's some relevant tips for everybody. Also keep in mind that a lot of my presentation, I'll go over this in a little bit in the agenda. Obviously, a lot of it is about prepping and making sure you're well prepared. So a lot of the best information is contained right in the beginning, which is kind of useful for you guys. Just to talk a little bit more about who I am and why you should trust me, Column is actually one of the premier partners that Atlassian has for migrations. You know, we've the support teams at Atlassian and the migration teams have grown a lot of trust in our process. And we do about, we're doing about 10 or so of these a month. And in the last year, we've done, you could imagine how many different migrations. So this is something we're good at, and something me in particular, as the kind of lead for our consulting practice at Column, I've been involved in countless migrations. So hopefully our experiences can help you do your planning and help you along with the process. So now here's the agenda. We'll go over who Column is briefly right in the beginning, and then kind of spend the rest of the time talking about these migrations. With a slide deck is prepared in kind of a 3-step: before, during, after you're planning your migration or the planning of the migration. As I mentioned, a lot of it is still pre-prep, so almost all of your key information is really in that before you migrate section. Once that part is done, we wrap it up with customer stories, which also give you some info about a timeline, how long a migration can take. Just to talk about Column, we are a consulting company that was founded almost 20 years ago. One of the key things for you to understand is obviously not only do we do Atlassian consulting, we're platinum partners with Atlassian. We're one of the largest in the New York area and in the US, but we do a lot of other stuff too. We don't just do Atlassian, we do DevOps and ITSM, ServiceNow, information security, all that good stuff. So we're a little bit more than just DevOps, but on DevOps specifically, you could see here that we partner with more than just Atlassian. While Atlassian's our key technology and probably our most important when it comes to what we focus on, we do a lot of other things, and our practice is really founded on the idea that we want to help you build a technology stack that's designed for your complex architectures, the complex architectures of today, based on these best of breed tools, which includes Jira and Confluence and things like that, but also technologies like a Jenkins, like a Docker. So that's Column. Let's talk about cloud migrations. So at the end of the slide, a lot of the information, well, not only will Dileep and the org leaders send you some of this info, but I also have a lot of cool links and things you could just Google to find additional info. This picture in particular is just taken right from Atlassian. They put this together with a lot of the partners' feedback about how they run and how to do successful migrations. So it's a great graphic. Now to walk you through pre-migration. As mentioned, this is, as you could guess, the most important part of your migration process. And one of the most important things I will tell you now is app assessments. And you might have even seen this. Atlassian's releasing a lot of functionality to help you do this analysis, but this is a key one. So if you're moving from on-prem to AWS, if you're moving from server to data center, if you're moving from server to cloud, the most important part of your process is these apps. You've got Tempo, you've got X-Ray or Zephyr. You've got these apps that are a big part of how you use Jira, how you use Confluence, Draw.io, Glyphy. Check the migration path for them. Make sure that they're compatible with your version. Especially and assume nothing, right? Assume nothing in this one. When you're doing your migration, a good example of what I mean by that is like you would think Portfolio is easy to migrate. It can be harder than you think, especially since the apps are not only not easy, they cannot be easy to migrate, they can be different. You might have heard that Portfolio is now called Advanced Roadmaps. So double check your apps. Your Jira and Confluence data in comparison is kind of easy to move, whereas all of these add-ons could be a little bit more complicated. On that note, the next tip is really pick your migration path. So there's a lot of ways to do the migration now. There's the CSV, there's XML backups, there's the JCMA and CCMA add-ons that Atlassian released. Research those. we give you pros and cons, and that's something that we do very early in our pre-sales or contracting cycle, is we talk to you about what you're trying to achieve and make a recommendation about which one to go with. So do your research there. There's still a lot of ways to do an actual migration. Again, no matter where you're moving to, whether or not it's server to server, server to cloud, etc. The next two tips are interrelated. So the thing, and they're almost the ones that my customers almost forget to check the most. So legal implications. If you're moving to AWS or you're moving to Atlassian Cloud, make sure that you're not going to run into any problem hosting your data there. There's a lot of things, especially if you're in finance or in the medical field, about data storage that you need to be careful about. So that's something we do early and often. Like, hey, do you need any auditing, or do you need to be ISO compliant, different things like that. Cost comparisons too. Make sure you understand how the cloud is priced and how AWS can be priced and the licenses there. As mentioned with the app assessment, you could be heavily using Portfolio. You could be used to buying that add-on, and then all of a sudden it's Jira Premium in the cloud, and you're kind of surprised at the cost. So just make sure you check and make sure you get those quotes from either your partner like a Column or from Atlassian's website. The next are all more technical now. So testing is the most important thing that you could do when you're preparing for your migration. So, and that's kind of the reason why we've become so good at it is I don't start a migration project with a customer unless we're under the same page about how many times we're going to do this migration. We don't do it once. We don't do it twice. We do it 3, 4, 5, even 6 or 7 times, depending on how complex the data is. Don't do your migration once. And on the aspect of testing, do not just test it yourself. Get your teams in there. Get business users in there. Get everybody under the sun that you think could be useful. You don't certainly have to open it up to the whole company, but the more diverse feedback you can get from your stakeholders and how they use the platform, the better it's going to be for you. On that note, as you're attempting this migration and you're finding out things, document everything that you need. Document everything. You're going to run into little things that Atlassian tells you to do, or that we tell you to do, like, hey, you've got to do this little update before you migrate, or you got to do an integrity check. Document it, because when you do the production migration, you're gonna wish you did. So make sure you write everything down. And UAT corresponds to testing. Don't just do testing on your own. Make sure you're running a user acceptance testing phase with your migration. The new authentication methods is just more of a pro tip. Server, cloud, AWS, whatever you're doing, you could be using LDAP today. You could be looking forward to doing SAML or SSO or like an Okta. Make sure you figure that out early. Make sure you have that tested early. You don't want to switch your authentication method and not have it tested and not have it even decided too, especially if you're not using any. When you do a migration, a lot of methods remove passwords. So make sure you test that if you're not integrating with an Okta. And then finally, something I'll emphasize later too is your change window. If your organization is smaller, you might not even have a change management process. But for those larger organizations, you guys understand, making sure that you're scheduling your changes within a window of time is very important. So even if you don't need to do it anyway. A lot of what makes us successful at these projects is because we get our timings down. We don't just test. We by the end of the testing round, we get as accurate as down to the minute about when things are going to be ready, when things are going to be, how the weekend's going to go for doing it over a weekend. Make sure you have your change windows met and approved with your team, approved with your stakeholders. The final tip here is that Atlassian has invested a lot of money into their support team for migrations. So take advantage of it. It's free with your license. You don't have to do anything. Make a support ticket. I even encourage you to make that support ticket before you even run into problems. Just let Atlassian know, hey, we're planning this migration. They give you great tips, and you'll have someone who's familiar with your situation when you do run into a problem. So always make that ticket early and often. Now, next is during your migration. So these are more kind of like what should you be doing the weekend of. Number one is wipe and restart your environment ahead of time. This is kind of just more of a pro tip. It falls in the realm of making sure that you do everything you can before the actual change window, before the weekend. wiping and restarting your environment is one of those that a lot of people just leave to, hey, we'll do that at 8 p.m. You might as well do it ahead of time. Make sure it's clean and it's ready. If you're in the cloud, make sure it's completely empty if you're expecting it to be. Don't leave it to something that you do right away, because there's a lot of things that you probably aren't aware of about lockout timers and backup timers. So making sure you do it in the morning will give you time to get Atlassian support involved if something goes wrong. Have a formal kickoff call. If you're doing it at 8 p.m. on a Friday, get your team on the phone. That's something I encourage with all my customers. Even if you don't feel like you need it, it's always good to set the stage. Like, hey guys, we're about to do this. Let's jump on the phone, make sure everybody's ready, make sure everyone understands the timeline of the engagement, of the schedule for the weekend. Install your apps first or last, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing a more of a CSV route, you probably have the apps installed first. If you're doing a fresh import and install, you might have to install apps after. So just make sure you know where the apps come into play in terms of when you need to install them, when they need to be ready. And then finally, stick to your change window. I kind of take this one as again, why are we successful? We limit the cowboy type aspect a lot. If the migration is taking longer than we think, we roll back. You don't need to be cute. Like if things are not going as you expect them and it's not going well, like, don't forget part of the reason why you planned is because you have a strategy to roll back. So that's just kind of, you'd almost think like basic IT tips, right? But don't kind of forget it. This is just a migration. It doesn't matter if it's Jira or Confluence. So make sure you stick to that change window. And now hopefully, based on the presentation, you're done. So after your migration, some of the things you should be thinking about is if you're moving from an instance that's still going to be available, make sure you set it in read-only. We have a lot of great scripts that we run as part of our project to put instances into a read-only state. So don't forget to like actually shut off or put the read-only mode on into the instance that you migrated away from. Do any of your training and post-live support too. Always be available on Monday if you're doing it over the weekend. Always be ready with training questions. People are going to have issues logging in, so making sure you're ready for those kind of things is always part of a good migration. Finish any billing. I've definitely had customers who do their own migration forget that they were on a trial. So don't forget that you're on a trial. Do you need to buy the licenses? Don't forget to buy them. Don't forget to finish buying any add-ons. And then probably in the realm of most important tips, don't forget to re-architect. Almost 90% of my customers who are doing a migration are also considering redoing their Jira workflows, their Confluence spaces, things like that. But they decide to migrate first because that's kind of the big bang project. But don't forget to do that. If part of your migration is really trying to get your instance in a more healthy state, into a better platform, that's not just going to get fixed by moving it to the fancy cloud, the shiny new AWS. You also got to redo your workflows, redo your custom fields if you need to. So don't forget about that. That's part of your migration project in my mind. So if you're leaving it to after the actual event, don't let it fall off your list. So now here's kind of some success stories, some of the biggest and most involved migrations we've done over the past 6 months. As you can see in the bottom with the timeline, unless you're doing a lot of Jira and Confluence sites, a migration really only takes 3 to 4 months at most. If you're doing something like 5 or 10 sites and you're consolidating, it could take longer, but just moving one Jira, one Confluence is really only going to take that much time frame. So I know that's a very common question, so I wanted to mention it. But just to go over, the large media organization, this is a good story because of how complicated it was. They had over 1 million issues. They had thousands of users. They were on some of the oldest versions of Jira and Confluence you might ever see. And they had like no appetite for doing any sort of multi-pronged approach, multi-weekend approach. So we did so much testing, and we managed to get the timeline condensed to where we were doing all of these upgrades, the whole migration, hundreds of gigabytes of data moving into the cloud, all compressed into a weekend. That took a while for us to plan, as you'd expect, but ultimately they basically went from like the Jira version that came out in 2005 to the cloud, and it ended up being a great project. The middle one is a good one because honestly, their Jira and Confluence instances weren't that complicated. So it ended up going really well, really easily, but they had script runner stuff and we had to recreate their script runner stuff completely by hand. We had to recreate every script. So this is a good one to note is like, hey, even if you think you have a small instance, don't forget the add-on data. And then finally, our communications company example, this is another old instance, but they were moving so little of their data. It ended up being, hey, we'll just do it by hand. We'll do CSV imports, exports. We'll recreate things like boards and dashboards just by hand. So that's something is good to know is like, even if you're not even considering a CSV, think about how much data is in scope for your migration. If it's only a very small subset of your data, it might be easier to do the CSV route or like the migration utility route as opposed to doing a big bang. Perfect. So it's 6:20. Dilip, I think you had me at 6:21. I think you had me till 6:20. So I'm a minute over. Apologies. But I did want to thank the org leaders for having us. The rest of my column team is on the phone, Blaine and Michelle too, for helping me put this together. And then, Dilip, obviously, I think questions now, right?
Definitely, yes. Any questions, please feel free to unmute your line and ask Andrew. I'm sure the folks who are on server after Pratama's presentation are wondering, what do I need to do now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Is it possible to share this, like this slide? Is it possible to share?
Of course. Dilip, I think you send it out, right?
Yes, correct. What we'll do is we'll post it on the website afterwards, the event page. So there'll be a SlideShare link, which will have both Pratama's presentation and Andrew's presentation as well. And so, same thing, we'll have also the Zoom recording as well that we publicize as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So same website, right? That community.
Correct. Yes.
Site.
It's
Okay.
the Atlassian community site. Correct.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So Andrew, I can ask you one question. Oh, sorry, Madhu. You go ahead. I know you were going last time too.
Do you also have a reverse way, like from cloud back to server? Now that Pratima is not here, I can ask you.
Yeah, of course. We do. It's more common than you think. And Dilip, this was actually one of the questions that you had too. In like situations where you're doing a merger, where Michael, your company bought another company, it's very common for us to not only need to move out of the cloud, but combine onto a Jira Server instance. If you're doing, Madhu, if you're doing something like just moving to a fresh instance, it's actually pretty easy. But if you're moving to a already pre-existing instance, so you're combining a cloud and a server that has data in it, the best way to do it is using the Project Configurator add-on by Adaptivist. So what you actually do as part of that process is you download the cloud, you put it in like a temp site, and then you use Project Configurator to kind of smash them together. And then everything else applies. Test it, UAT it, all that good stuff. But yes, we absolutely still do those. They're actually more common than you think, as I mentioned. And all the things that I've talked about today, still kind of apply for that type of project too.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other questions out there, folks?
I think Kapil had one.
Yeah, I was just waiting if somebody from users can ask, otherwise I will ask. So the question is, I've been into migrations and merger, I would say, so the kind of holding companies we are, migrations just not one, the mergers are. So what do you recommend for the case? So where no matter it's from server to cloud or even from cloud to cloud, but not just migration, but let's say I already have a cloud site, and in that cloud site, I have to merge either from a server or from a cloud. So it's just not migration, it's migration along with merger. And Jira specifically. I know Confluence is easier than Jira about merging. So that's what I wanted to ask.
Confluence certainly is easier. Yeah, so back in the day, this used to be like one of the most painful things you'd ever attempt. But luckily for you and for everybody, the best way to do it is the Jira migration utility now, the Jira Cloud Migration Assistant, the JCMA. We're doing a project right now for a customer who's combining 10 different sites into their main corporate instance. And if we did not use the Jira migration utility, it would be impossible. So that's definitely the route I would go down. But really the answer to your question is like, how do you do it successfully? And it's still the same tenets I brought up, right? Test, make sure you do thorough testing. They're working on it too. They're making the add-on better and better. I was just on the phone with the developers last night, kind of talking them through their backlog and, you know, things that I thought that they needed to work on. So my recommendation to you with the migration utility is it's new. So spend a lot of time reviewing it. You know, create yourself a trial site with your backup, with your production backup, and then migrate your data into that using the JSchema and take a look at it. It does a great job of merging things, but they also took a philosophy that the migration utility does not overwrite data that exists in its target. So it'll create a lot of migrated objects, a lot of things that just say migrated that are not, you know, and it does it more than you'd expect. A very common one is like the priorities. On cloud, there's no priority schemes. So what it'll do is if the migration utility finds an inch of difference, so even if it's the priorities listed as high, the description's the same, and icon's the same, if the color is like 2 characters off, it creates a completely new priority. So like pay attention to things like that. And that's why you do testing. So you can notice, you say, oh, hey, it didn't combine those priorities. I wonder why. So that's my tip, is just test it, double check it. But the route definitely is the Jira migration utility now.
Okay, that's a good tip. Thank you. We'll try.
Great. Thank you, folks. So I think we'll probably end it because now we're coming on the half an hour here. I know we want to go to the exciting part here with the raffles. So thank you again, Andrew. Great talk. And I think as after Pratima's presentation, it does seem that Atlassian is pushing everyone to the cloud. And it was kind of a fascinating tidbit that Atlassian is they have moved to the cloud. I did not know that. I would have assumed they're on server, but it seems that they're eating their own dog food as well. So again, if you folks, if you have any questions, feel free to ping Andrew on that. So thank you again, Andrew.
Thank you, everybody.
So what we're going to switch on to is the raffles here. So I'm going to share my screen here once we do this here. Give me a second. Come in here. So folks, thanks for remaining on the line here. So let me come here and let's see, 1 second. So as we mentioned, we have a couple of prizes here. We do have the gift cards from some of our sponsors here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through now and call the individuals. So we do have a nice app here, a wheel of names here, which I have put everyone's entries here. And we will go in and select a person. But give me 1 second here. Hold on. 1 minute. What I'm going to do is I have to share my computer sound here as I go through the round here. So again, just a note here, all of these prizes are for all members, not for any Atlassian sponsors or the partners here. And of course, you have to be here at the end to get the prize. So what I'll do is I will spin this wheel here. And if your name comes up, please do a shout out here to say that you are present. And then give your email address to one of the other org leaders here. A couple are Madhu here, so they will take that. And we will be happy to have the partners send the gift card along to you. Okay, so with that, it's there. Let me go in and
can I spin it?
Huh? Yes.
Can I spin it?
All right, so the first prize is for the $25 Uber Eats card. And so Michelle, are you on there?
Hey, Dilip, Michelle works for our company. I don't think she was supposed to.
Oh, great. Not then. All right. Well, that's another chance here. All right.
I am. Yes, that would be it.
Sorry, Michelle.
No worries, Blaine. Happy to pass it on.
Mark. I think Mark was there. I think he may have just dropped off, but you know what? We will give it to him. I think it's fair because he did ask some good questions here. All right, so we'll remove Mark. So that's for the $25 Uber Eats card. So we have one more for the next Uber Eats card. So I may select the next individual here. Nicola, are you present? Is Nicola there?
They,
Do we see her online? I don't see her.
no,
All right, we will then select again then here. All right, let's go. Guys, this is good for you folks. Congratulations, it's the first time winner here.
Thank you.
That's nice.
All right. So please give your email address there. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So the next one is a $50 Visa card from AdTech. Alex. Alex, are you present? Is Alex here? I thought I saw him.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think he's there.
Alex, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, well, it's just his picture. I see him there.
All right, we will give him. All right, guys. All right, folks. The last one is our grand prize, a $100 Amazon gift card here. All right, are you online? Is he
It's a
on,
big
folks?
one. Better he should be.
Hello.
I think I'm
here. Hello, 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 hello.
John, is that you? All right, we'll get your
I'm
names
here.
afterwards then. Hopefully John is on. If John is not on, he will lose a $100 card here.
Oh, someone paying. Yeah.
You can hear
Oh,
me,
I'm
right?
sorry.
I'm
Okay,
here.
this is John. My headphone was on mute. I'm sorry.
All right, John. Great, congratulations then. All right, so just as I mentioned earlier, just ping your email address to one of the ACE leaders, and we will send you the gift card. All right, folks. Okay, I think we will end with that. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. So hopefully you found it a very productive session here. I think we kind of covered a gamut of topics here from Confluence, the cloud, over into server migrations for the Atlassian product suite. And as I mentioned here, just in terms of the upcoming events, so there's a lot of Atlassian virtual events that we have, that Atlassian is hosting over the next few weeks. And then, of course, just keep kind of pen the dates here for the next ACE event for June 25th. As I mentioned, it's going to be John Kern from Adaptivist, one of the Agile Manifest original signatories. I think it's going to be a really fun event. So thanks again to all our speakers, Andrew, and I guess Prathama and Brittany. And again, thanks to everyone for joining. So again, if you have any other topic that you want to present, or that you have want to have a question about specific question about Atlassian products, feel free to reach out to us. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dilip, for a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.